In today's quick video, I want to answer the question of what do you do if your client cannot go into trance, maybe cannot relax, not going deep enough? What can you actually do as a hypnotherapist? Well, guys, it's very, very simple. And we're going to come up from the place that I normally do, which is ACH, which is Advanced Conversational Hypnosis. And I'm here to tell you, stop worrying about depth. Really stop worrying about hypnosis. Stop worrying about the suggestions. Really stop worrying about all the traditional stuff. And here's why. To break it down very, very simple, hypnosis and therapy has nothing to do with each other. Just because a client can relax, relaxation is not a prerequisite for trance. And I found this out many, many years ago working with my own clients. Is something we teach all of our students as well, that if we're too busy focusing on the hypnosis, here's what happened. Sure, can someone relax? Yes. Can most people go into some sort of hypnosis? Yes. But then what? We as therapists have to understand that just because a client is in a place of relaxation does not mean we have some special ability to give a client suggestions like you are now a non-smoker, you can breathe easy and stuff like that. Why? Because not only is this a symptom, but now you're telling the unconscious mind what to do. And this whole idea that the unconscious mind is a slave, you can steer it towards certain things, you can basically give it suggestions so it will unlock the mysteries of why this client is a smoker. Again, all symptom-based stuff. It doesn't quite work like that. The unconscious mind comes across as very, very stubborn. Why? Well, it has a reason to. If a client has been a smoker for 40 years and you come in as a therapist and say, now you're a non-smoker, what have you just done? You've not only addressed the symptom, which is the coping mechanism as to why the client is a smoker, has nothing to do with the cigarettes. Client says I have anxiety, that's another symptom. Client says they have weight issues, money blocks. These are all just symptoms. We know this because the client's problem exists in the unconscious mind. But all in all, you're basically telling the unconscious mind, hey, break the symptom. And the unconscious mind doesn't have to do this. If you're not finding the root cause, which is hypnosis 101, telling the unconscious mind to deal with the symptom has no cause, has no effect. So it becomes an absolute waste of time. And plus, you're now telling the unconscious mind what to do. Now, as a therapist, your job is not to tell the unconscious mind to do anything. Your job is to find what the root cause is and offer it something. Have a conversation unconsciously with the client, not give it suggestions. There's a big difference here. But basically have the unconscious mind think of another way to cope with this internal, external stress, whatever the root cause may be. You sort of know what I'm going with that. But all in all, guys, worrying about hypnosis, worrying about depth, worrying about relaxation, your focus is now on the hypnosis. What we teach all of our students to do, we've got plenty of videos, guys, with demos showing you guys how to do this, is we do the therapy first. Why? By doing the therapy first, what we call untying all the knots, hypnosis now becomes sort of like the icing on the cake. And it happens naturally. Believe it or not, if you do the therapy first, your client will go as deep as they need to. They will have some sort of trance experience the way that they need to. They will go into hypnosis if they need to, the way that they need to. Hopefully you can hear my point here. The way that they need to. We as therapists are in so much of a freaking rush to put our clients into this space. Just because they're in this space doesn't mean anything. You don't have access to the unconscious. Relaxation is not unconscious. It's just something, it's an experience they're having. If you're doing therapy first, you don't have to worry about this stuff. Now, if you're doing the therapy first, you untie the knots, you have your client have the aha moments. If their mind decides to put them into trance, here's the cool thing. Their mind will take them as deep as they need to go into whatever space, reality, version of themselves, timeline, regression, any of these fancy techniques that we're so busy to push onto our clients, your clients can have those things naturally. We call these organic. You want to make sure your client has these organic experience, because if a client needs to go into regression, their unconscious mind will do it because that's what it needs. If it needs to float above a timeline, needs to hug an inner child, needs to do something, it needs to just relax them, their mind will do it. And what this does, it takes the pressure off you as a therapist to relax your client, to deepen your client, to worry about even if they're in trance at all. So instead of worrying about these things and forcing these on the client, you need to learn something that allows your clients to have these things spontaneously, organically. And there are ways to push clients to have those things very, very quickly, but most therapists are in so much of a rush to force them down techniques, to force them into these places. Why? Because we as a therapist, not only are taught this stuff, but it becomes like an ego thing. But on top of that, we think that hypnosis and depth and therapy are all intertwined, and I'm here to tell you they're not. Think back on any client you've had. We've got several demos of this. You'll see, I'll talk about the demos, you'll be able to, guys, be able to watch them. There are a lot of demos we've done where the client's eyes don't even close. They don't go into relaxation. They don't have a regression. They don't have a float above a timeline. They don't have an inner child healing experience. But if they do, It's because that's where the client's mind needs to take them. And that's the whole point of this video, guys. Instead of worrying about where you want to take your client, allow your client's mind to do it for themselves. And sure, you have to learn how to do this, and it will go against all the other traditional trainings that you've done. We've got a ton of training showing you guys how to do this, but I'm not here to tell you to join those courses. I just want to point out one of the biggest teething problems, which is either I can't get my client to go in a trance, they're not going deep enough. I'm here to tell you, stop worrying about those things. If you're worrying about how to put a client into hypnosis, it doesn't mean you can do the therapy. Just because a client is in this hypnotic space, what then? Doesn't mean you have access to their unconscious. It just means they're relaxed. It just means they may be seeing something, but it might not have anything to do with the root cause. Why? Because you haven't explored it. You don't know what the root cause is. You haven't untied any knots. You haven't done the therapeutic process that most therapists are taught, basically not taught to do at all. We're all taught just to do the hypnosis. Something we do in all of our trainings, as I say at the very start of day one, stop worrying about the hypnosis. Just I'm telling you guys now, I'm not going to teach you trance. I'm not going to teach you deepness. I'm not going to teach you suggestibility tests. I'm not going to teach you any of that stuff because it has nothing to do with therapy. You need to learn how to do a therapeutic course. You know how to do a therapeutic process. And if you do that, it becomes far more valuable than how deep my clients can go. I never worried about that stuff, guys. Our students don't have to worry about any of that stuff. I don't have to worry about suggestibility tests. I don't have to worry about depth. I don't have to do any of that stuff. My focus is on the therapy and using things like the hypnotic interview, clashing realities, asking certain questions, having processing time, doing testing, all of these sorts of things which are therapeutic that actually have nothing to do with hypnosis. Now, I get it. It's a bit of a misnomer when I say, hey, I'm going to teach you advanced conversational hypnosis, but I'm not actually going to teach you the hypnosis, but it is what it is. But all in all, guys, stop worrying about depth. Stop worrying about how quickly or how quickly a client goes into trance, like a shock induction. Stop worrying about forcing them into aggression. This whole thing that every client needs a regression, garbage. These are things that a lot of trainers come up with, but there's no validity. There is no evidence for this. If my client wants to have a regression, they will have one spontaneously. I don't have to worry about scenes. I don't have to worry about what they're seeing or where they are, unless it's like an abreaction type thing and I want to pull them out of that. But all in all, if that's where they go, that's where they go. I sort of coin it to like a client, you know, putting a cake in the oven and letting it bake. The baking is whatever happens during that baking process, whether it's trance, whether it's depth, whether it's regression, whether it's visualization, whether it's whatever a client needs to do, that's what they need to do to bake, guys. And that's all I'm doing. By doing the therapy first, guys, you're allowing your client to go into this baking place and do what they need to do. And that's the key here. Do what they need to do, guys. So if you're worried about depth, as I've said, worried about how quickly a client goes into trance, stop worrying about it, guys, and start worrying about the therapy instead. Then you'll never have to worry about tedious, boring, long-stepped hypnosis, which all it does is relax your client, and relaxation has nothing to do with therapy. Your client does not have to be relaxed in order to have a breakthrough. They are not a prerequisite, guys. Hopefully that helps. Bye for now.